Check, check. How we doing today, everyone?
Check, check.
Awesome. Sound looks good. Let's get into it. So welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. We got a lot to talk about today, starting off with the stock market and unemployment. So far, Bitcoin, as you can see, reacting positively to that news, up almost 3%, but the stock market going down a bit. And if you saw my video earlier today, I get into more of why that is. To summarize, what I believe is going on right now, the way the stock market's reacting, is that it is pricing in rate pause. Even though since the Fed has announced that it's going to be slowing down rate cuts and that borrowing money is going to be a little bit tougher, I do believe that when the Fed pauses rates, that will be positive. That is what's happened in prior times after, let's zoom out here on the weekly, after 2019, the Fed paused down here. 2008 great financial crisis, the Fed paused after they were cutting rates down here. The Fed in 1998 paused somewhere in here. And so I do still think there's more room to run. So that's my quick take on it. Let's get into fear and greed. We will get into crypto. Let me just give a quick summary of stocks. And then, yes, we'll talk about all things crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all that stuff. Stocks still in heavy fear. We've talked about how we might see some sideways action. I believe this has already started. But if you look at the dates at the bottom, it's around 3 to 4 months. And so December to February, maybe that's when we start going up. And 2026 would be the second year of the presidential cycle. That lines up with when crypto is expected to be bearish. If you are considering 4-year cycles, I mean, you could just take a look right here. 2016, somewhat near the bottom. And then we have 2018, 2019, the end of 2018, somewhere near the bottom. 4 years later, 2022, near the bottom. So it makes sense 2026 might be an area to look for a big downturn in the markets. Just something to keep in mind. I think the yield curve, as far as what that chart looks like, the second year of the presidential chart, the Bitcoin historical chart, here's the yield curve inversion. And you can see that this was the .com and great financial crisis. Talked about this in the video earlier today, that about 550 to 600-ish days, once the yield curve starts to uninvert, that's when we can see bottoms in the market. And so that could put, let's just go over there right now. That would be in 2026. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. Stocks are expensive right now. That's the price to earnings ratio historically. Stocks are very expensive right now. However, we are in a positive rate cut cycle right now. The Fed is cutting by an average of 25 basis points, and that tends to be bullish in the near term. When they pause, I believe that will be the last gasps of this bull run. Whether that's for another 6 months or a year, I don't know. But if the economy is staying strong, if unemployment's numbers are staying good, eventually the Fed will probably have to raise rates again. And then that would be the time where I would suspect the economy something to break. And then you see them start cutting by 50 basis points. When the Fed starts, here's a couple of things to consider when looking for bottoms outside of the yield curve inversion. When the Fed starts cutting by 50 basis points, so larger and faster cuts, things aren't good. Also, when inflation is spiking, that is around market bottoms as well. You can double check my work here, but going back, I put a white vertical line every time inflation's at its peak, and that's never too far from a bottom. Of course, this was 2008, the great financial crisis. That was the 200-week moving average, and anytime the stocks get under that, it's really bad. The 200-week moving average overall tends to be a good area of support. And so there, inflation peak at its bottom. Let's go back to the 70s because people are drawing so many comparisons. Look at these inflation spikes, not far from the bottoms. So take a look at the Fed cutting by a lot or another spike in inflation, 2026, all that stuff. As far as some leading indicators, we have the S&P 500, the percent of stocks overall above their 200-day average. It's been at a recent local low area if you just go sideways. Of course, it can get a little worse. We have this trend line here. But I'm looking for some bottoming patterns right now in the stock market, which would also apply in the crypto market. You can see the stock market likes the 20-week moving average. I can also throw on an RSI indicator, stock RSI bottoming. On the daily, you see bullish divergence. So that was my video earlier today in a nutshell, because again, unemployment numbers are good, but you might be asking, well, that's been good and helped the markets in the past. Why aren't the markets pumping right now? Well, the narrative is that because unemployment numbers are good, that the Fed isn't going to continue cutting. And that's what the data came out after that. The odds of the Fed cutting after this are very low for the next couple times that they meet, which is fine because when they pause, I believe that's bullish. Let's get into Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin, we can see the daily stock RSI getting near a bottom. It's more overextended when we look at the weekly. Of course, we go to the monthly. We can see that for Bitcoin, when it stays up here in the stock RSI, it's usually had two overbought areas, and the second bump tends to be somewhere near the end. But there's still room to run, in my opinion. You can go all the way back over to here when it had its second peak. There was still about another year until it topped once it started to flip positive to the second peak. There, 180 days, about half a year. So let's just say half a year to a year. Where would that put the top for Bitcoin if we're just going by that range? Well, half a year, 180 days would be May of this year. And of course, we know a year would be at the end of this year. All right, November, sometime around then. You take the average amount of time from the halving, that's this white line here, to the peak. That would put us out in August, September. You take the average from the very bottom of each cycle to its next peak, that would be around March. Okay, so there's a lot of different narratives out there, people trying to predict things. And the way I look at it is this. I'm just looking for a range. And when we take a look at cycles, by the way, subscribe if you want to hear my thoughts each week on the crypto cycles. I'm taking a look at range. Don't get sucked up into the predictions. Have a strategy that works regardless of predictions. And so every time is a little bit different. History doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. Sure, you've heard all the adages. And so we're just looking for some sort of range based off prior data. Okay. Now, you can take the timing scales. You can take prior fractals. Sometimes they repeat. Sometimes they don't. Okay. I don't base my strategy off of that. I'm looking to answer the essential question, is now a good time to buy? And I'm looking at indicators. What are discounted areas to buy? What are good indicators, areas to know when to sell? Let's take a look more so at Bitcoin, starting with fear and greed. So right now it is in neutrality. So that was a pretty big fall. We've been seeing that Bitcoin, fear and greed, it has been making a series of lower highs, lower lows. Been talking about this since the mid-November peak. And then just recently, today, in fact, it's fallen down into neutrality. Zooming out, we saw a similar thing happen in March. Lower highs, lower lows fell down into neutrality. Okay. We zoom way out and we take a look at a time where it was different, where Bitcoin stayed up in the greed for, this was from November of 2020 to February of 21. Okay. Very similar to this time. Got high up in the greed November. Okay. February's around the corner. We still see that in late January, there was this big spike down towards neutrality and even high fear. So are we experiencing a similar phenomena like we had last cycle? I'll show you what that looks like on the rainbow chart, where we are somewhere around a time like December 2020, getting ready to move up higher. Now, as far as where I'm looking for a top, I'm looking in these orange bands, because this is just patterns that we see. You can look at each halving in the rainbow chart, how it moves up a zone, moves up a color zone, okay? And the tops move down color zones too. Not that that can't change because of inflation and our dollars being worth less, meaning Bitcoin can be worth more. But the next areas down is in the orange band. So you can see that the orange band starts at around 156K. That's where the 2618 fib is. I'll show you that on the chart. More of a 4-year cycle. If we're looking, let's just go later, October, 180K. Those are some things to consider. Of course, keep in mind that in each crypto cycle, we have a series of pullbacks, and that's okay. 2017, we had the 40% pullbacks. They didn't include the data in this area, but there were a number of 30% pullbacks here. Obviously, the COVID one was bigger. Last cycle, a lot of 30% pullbacks. This cycle, a lot of 20% pullbacks. Okay, so keep that in perspective. That's normal. We're just waiting for that one time where Bitcoin dominance rotates the percent of money that's overall in crypto, that's in Bitcoin, rotates over to altcoins. That has been pretty good at signaling when prior tops have been. As we go over to the Bitcoin dominance, Bitcoin alt season chart, let's make sure this loads correctly. Here we go. We can see this is still in an uptrend, making a series of higher lows, higher highs. So I still believe in alt seasons coming. Last cycle, we had these big spikes. 2018, we had spikes before. So I'm still waiting for the altcoin year to get up much higher when the time comes. But again, for perspective, that doesn't happen until the last month of whenever that cycle is. Yes, Bitcoin got higher here, but it doesn't happen until the last month. So I'm looking for opportunities to buy right now. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Ethereum, some top altcoins, and some mining stocks. It's so good to have all 6 of you here today. Hopefully more show up, but if not, that's all right. If you have any requests for analysis on certain altcoins that are available on Coinbase, Robinhood, mining stocks, comment below. Perfect. My tea just got to a cool enough temperature. All right. Let's zoom in on Bitcoin here. So what do we see? It has flipped green on the Heikin-Ashi candles, and it is a doji right now, okay? And a doji, as you know, means undecided. Now, zooming way out, you see this trend line. It's just one I've had drawn since the bottom that Bitcoin has loved on the log scale. Right now, it's on this trend line. You can see it's tapped it, ridden it up. Doesn't stay underneath for too long. But right now, it's at that trend line. It's also at the double top here from the 2021 peaks. Okay, so Bitcoin's right in that area. Let's also draw a fib. And if you're wondering what a Fibonacci retracement is, it's based off the golden ratio that's out there in the world. And right now, our fib, which is off log scale, when we zoom out, that Bitcoin was not able to close above the 1618 at 102K. If you were here for the beginning of the video, remember what I showed you in the rainbow chart? Let's show you again that if we get into the orange band sometime around Q1, Q2, around 155K, you see that there? That is right near where the 2618 is. The 2618 is near where the beginning of the orange band is. All right, zooming way in, when we take a look at the weekly, there weren't any candle body closes above the 1618. When that happens, then I believe we are getting near the very end of the bull run. Last time we had that mid-cycle top in March of 2024, you can see we only had wicks on the weekly. That's why it's important to swap between time frames. I don't really zoom in underneath the daily time frame too much because I'm more of an investor, trade vestor. Real Clever Fox, thank you for having us. Hope you're having a great day. I am, man. I love doing these. And I hope you're having a fantastic week and Friday. So thanks for a nice comment. Also, as I'm doing this live stream, one of my cats, yes, I do have more than one. One of my cats is on my lap right now demanding a lot of love. So if I seem a little distracted, that's why. She's demanding lots of loves right now as we do this chart analysis. Let's take a look at the daily. And so the daily, we can see some things going on here that since Bitcoin started to make this run up in November, it's come down to the 50-day moving average. The next area for support is the 100-day moving average. Remember this number, 88K. We can see that here. Obviously, it's a moving average, so it's going to move and come up a little bit. 88K, remember that number. Because when we go on the weekly, one of the indicators we looked at, I kind of like doing those videos every week. I tried something new. I call it the indicator special, where I take a look at a different indicator or two. And just what I'm trying to do is show analysis, technical analysis through a different lens. And this whole suite indicator right now is moving up to that 88K area. So even if Bitcoin goes down to the 100-day moving average or the whole suite, I'm fine with that. And I think, let's turn off the moving averages so this looks simpler. I was comparing this to the last couple cycles and asking myself, okay, what has Bitcoin price action done in relation to this whole suite indicator? Sometimes it goes underneath, but when it's really bullish, it starts to bounce off of it on the weekly. When it goes underneath, that's the beginning of bearishness, okay, every time. But once it gets above, once it starts to break above the whole suite, you can see here in 2021, once it only bounced off of it, it was very bullish, okay? Getting underneath, bearish, getting underneath, bearish, okay? So we have seen Bitcoin go underneath the whole suite indicator a couple times. I am waiting for it to bounce off and to go up to that 2618 area, all right? That was one indicator we looked at. Another indicator I've been looking at recently is the logarithmic regression. This is basically the rainbow chart. Let's take off our fib here. It's just too much going on. Okay. And actually, let's move these trend lines. We can always redraw them. And so the logarithmic regression, you can see how the last couple cycles, the peak has gone into this red band, and the middle to upper area of that band that it's gotten to, you can see that here. 2017 got to the middle, 2021 got about 3/4 of the way up, then the middle. So that area right now, at least in March, let's just go from the average tops, whether we're taking the average from the very bottom of every cycle to the next peak. Every cycle, that average has been around 850 days. That's March. The middle area would be around 130, and the top area around 180, okay? If we take the average from every halving to the next peak, it's 484 days. That would be about 140 to 188K. Let me take a sip of tea. So, by the way, that 180K area, one other data point where I found this number was we saw earlier in this video that the 2618 fib is at 155K, right? We saw that a few minutes ago. If you take the inflation numbers into account, our dollars are worth 20 to 25% less than they were in 2020 when we had the last bull run. If you add on that 20%, so we just for inflation, then Bitcoin would be 20% higher than 155 is around that middle 180K area. So something to keep in mind. It's not that Bitcoin's worth more. It's that our dollars are worth less. So those are this is part of a topping area I'm looking for. I believe that there's still room to run in this cycle, as we've had prior cycles. I believe there's still room to run up here. And so what I'm trying to verbalize and externally process to you all is an exit plan or strategy, indicators to look for. Do I need all of them? No. But when we have convergence of some of these indicators, I think that'll give us a good idea whether or not some of the crypto assets we hold have done well or not. Do keep in mind, last cycle when we had this double peak, many of the alts that ran during alt season did so here. There were still a bunch of them that did run later. So keep that in mind. That's a risk you'll have to take. If Bitcoin is getting up in the orange band, if it's in the log regression band near the 268, 155K, all those things, dominance is rotating over, and your altcoin still hasn't run, you're going to have to decide whether or not you take the risk of there being a double top and another alt season, mini one, or withdrawing, or leaving it in for another 4 years. Who knows? And accumulating more. Let's move over to Bitcoin dominance, by the way, see how that's doing. And so Bitcoin dominance, I was drawing this wedge last week, expecting it to move one way or the other. It does have a doji on the weekly. Let's take a look. It's starting to break up and out of it, but we still do have these, wrong one. We still do have these lower tops. I wonder if we take into account that wick top back there, if this is what it's going to look like more. So maybe it's going to get wound up in here, and then who knows. But again, for any new viewers, Bitcoin dominance is the overall percent, 58.12% of all money that's in crypto is in Bitcoin. When that rotates over and down, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 6 weeks last cycle where alt season was happening. The cycle before, there's about 4 weeks. So can we say again, 4 to 6 weeks when we start seeing this phenomena where alts are exploding? Sure. You could also take a look at it as 4, 6, 8. Maybe the next one's going to be 2 more weeks. I don't know. You can look at it in a number of ways, but basically when the rotation happens and Bitcoin dominance is getting down to the low 40% level, that's a time when you see the alts explode, if you're in the right ones. Now, the levels you can look for, you can go by these bottoms and say, well, maybe Bitcoin dominance will get down to the 40% area, or you can see an ascending trend line here. Maybe it goes down to 42, 43%. Either way, I'd say have some price targets picked out. If we visualize our moving averages again, I think this is important to look at on the weekly. What happened? So Bitcoin dominance, one reason I do believe we are in the fourth quarter of the game for crypto, and we have these 4-year cycles, okay? We talked about this in the rainbow chart, 4-year cycles from the tops so far. 4 years, give or take. Okay, 4 years, give or take from the tops. And yes, alt season was earlier last time because there was money printing, stimulus money, low rates, all that stuff. Okay. One reason I believe we are in the fourth quarter is because we saw Bitcoin dominance break down underneath this moving average. You see that red moving line. That's the 20-week moving average. Bitcoin dominance, that was its support that it held throughout its ascension. It broke underneath that. Now it has come back up to it, and it is testing it right now as resistance, but it broke underneath that and it tested the 50-week moving average. So once Bitcoin dominance starts to move under the 50-week moving average, then we're going to see stronger movement in alts. Real clever fox, plus the more institutional money and countries going into Bitcoin will make it less volatile in the future. Yes, I'd agree with that. Do you think that will affect alt season in the future? Yes, I do. I do. It's hard to know to what degree, but I'll say this. There's large money, billions and billions of dollars that rotate from Bitcoin to alts the last 2 cycles regardless. Where that money comes from, the magic internet money, is it coming from some darker parts of the world. I don't know. But yes, here's one thing I know regardless, is that institutional money, it will sell when there's money to be made, when things are expensive. We see that happening right now in stocks at a record rate. There can still be more selling to go, but large institutional sells have started to hit record peaks. Again, that can go on for a while. So they sell when things are expensive and they buy when things are inexpensive. And so I still believe that rotation is going to happen. Regardless, I look at it this, there is more money in Bitcoin than ever before. And so it's my opinion that we are going to see altcoins run even higher than ever before. And we've already started to see that happen. Okay. I think this chart, the alt year index, it doesn't disprove my hypothesis on that yet. It is still in an uptrend, and we have not seen one of those spikes. So I believe all the good things we saw with XRP, Doge recently, Chainlink, that we could see, 2 to 3 times that, if not more. And if you're lucky and you're in some of the right altcoins, the low mid caps, the top 100, the mining stocks, if you're in the right ones, then I think you'll have good money to be made. So let's take a look at the shadow of Bitcoin dominance, and that is Ethereum Bitcoin pairing. Okay. By the way, keep this date in the back of your mind, September 2019. That was when Bitcoin dominance peaked last cycle, September 2019. Keep that in the back of your mind. Let's go over to ETH Bitcoin. And so ETH Bitcoin, just to prove my point, Ethereum Bitcoin bottomed September 2019. Again, it's the shadow of Bitcoin dominance. Okay. And you can see here we have this trend line from the peaks. Yes, there is this one, but I'll just call it an anomaly right now. We have other peaks that line up, even the candle body here. All right. So if Bitcoin dominance truly just topped, and I believe it did because it broke under its key moving average resistance, then Ethereum Bitcoin, if Bitcoin dominance topped, Ethereum Bitcoin just bottomed. Okay. One of the things that leads me to be more bullish and ready for an alt season sooner than later is just the depth of this. Now, again, this is if Ethereum Bitcoin's bottom. Right here, it is so far bottomed at around 0.2. Okay, you can see that number on the right, 0.2. Okay, to get up near that trend line, it only has to move 150 some percent to get to around 0.5 value. All right, look at how deep it was last cycle. It was at 0.1, and alt season, by the way, it finished around here. Okay, 0.5 again. It didn't have to get to the trend line, though it did later. And what that means, by the way, is that Ethereum is then worth half of Bitcoin. So whatever Bitcoin's market cap, if it was 1 trillion, then Ethereum had a market cap of 5 trillion. And then you adjust for the numbers. So you can see here, over the course of 600 days, Ethereum Bitcoin moved up 400%. So I'm just going by averages here, and I'm saying to myself, well, it doesn't even have to move up half that much. So might it only take half the amount of time? Again, I'm just drawing a comparison there. And that would put us, you see that date at the bottom, September 2025. What else is happening around September of 2025? That is right near where we have the average from every cycle halving to the next peak, August of 25. Close enough. Again, I don't care about predicting the exact top. I don't give a crap. Sorry, excuse my language. But what I am looking for is things to support the narrative of alt season, which I believe in. I am dollar cost averaging my money where there's value, waiting for alt season, because that has been a phenomena we've had at the very end of the bull run last couple cycles. And that's the time I'll be looking to withdraw in that area. Now, there's other ways to look for when to withdraw, and that is your price targets. Okay, those are environmental factors I'll look for, but we can also look at price targets. Okay. And in all my videos, by the way, I try to answer what are some indicators or things that lead me to believe now is a good time to buy or sell. I've been talking about the selling part. Let me talk about the buying part. You see here how I have this fib drawn from the high to the low. When price gets down from its high to these lower fibs, you can say, well, those are deep value. You can also take a look at the moving averages and say, well, those are deep value. And so when Ethereum came down and then had its bounce, came down again, you could say, well, if that was the bottom, and then here is the 236 fib, all right, great value. And you would have 3x your money, 2.5x, okay? You can see it's under the moving averages, and historically, you take a look at any stock. If you were buying in down here before it doubled or tripled within a year or two, that's a great return. Okay, so I look at those areas. I also look at the stochastic RSI flipping positive on the weekly, okay? Flipping positive after being oversold, okay? This is one area I look for confirmation. Now, you're not always going to catch very good value, so you have to look at, again, that's why I have the fibs on there. You can add on buy-sell signals. There's a couple indicators. There's the UT bot alerts one. That one's pretty good when you're waiting for confirmation, okay? And yes, it's not going to get the very bottom, but I don't need to get the very bottom. I'm looking to make a profit sandwich. There's also the leading indicator, which is the 10-20 MA crossover with Heikin-Ashi signals. Basically, when the Heikin-Ashi is for sure flipping green and positive, it's more of a leading indicator. So I'm looking at eating a profit sandwich without the very top and bottom of the bread. And that's fine by me. So those are areas I look to buy, whether I'm looking for confirmation or I'm looking to dollar cost average. And if I don't have confirmation, then I'm looking for these moving averages, deeper ones, okay? If Ethereum came back down to this trend line, which is also at the 618 fib, which is also between the 100 and the 200-week moving average, and if I loved Ethereum, I'd say that's a great value area to dollar cost average in on. And I'd be looking to buy there. But Ethereum overall, what do we see here from these tops? It did have this breakout a little bit, but it's been testing this 888 fib. The 888 fib, it's not on all the fibs when you just draw it yourself, so you do have to add it on. It's good at catching those fake outs. So Ethereum has to break past 4,100 before going higher. And then obviously it has its former all-time high around 4,800. And then if we look at price targets, take your fib off log, and then we can take a look at some of these price targets. The 1618 at 7K, 7.3K, and the 2618 at 11K. I know it seems crazy. And if Ethereum was at around 11K, that'd be about a 3x from here. 3x times 400 billion is 1.2 trillion. Can Ethereum be worth 1.2 trillion? I believe so. And remember what I said about the 0.5 ratio for Ethereum Bitcoin. If 1.2 trillion is the 0.5, then Bitcoin is worth 2.4 trillion. How much is Bitcoin worth right now? 1.9 trillion. All right. Bitcoin at 155K is 3 trillion. I'm just going to do this on my phone. You double check my math. Okay. So we're going to go 2.4 trillion. Okay. You guys see what I'm doing here, I hope. Again, we're talking about if Ethereum was at the 2618. If Ethereum got to the 2618 at around 11K, which is 3 times this roughly, its market cap would be 3 times higher. 400 billion, 800 billion, 1.2 trillion. Okay. Now, if that got to 0.5 on the Ethereum Bitcoin scale, right, where would that put the price of Bitcoin? Well, 0.5 would be half of 2.4 trillion. So we take 2.4 divided by our current market cap, 1.88 trillion. We get a ratio of 1.27, and we multiply that times our price. I'm just curious where this number is going to be. 95. Okay. That would put Bitcoin at around $100 121K. And you know where that falls into? We looked at this indicator recently. The log regression. Where's 121K? That's right about halfway up. So I'm just saying, something to look out for. Again, that's us looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing. And, oh boy, we have to take off the log regression now. And put this on auto. Let's fix this. That's saying if Ethereum Bitcoin gets back up to the 0.5, its market cap will be half. ETH Bitcoin, which market are you looking at? Binance or Coinbase? It's a good question. I think this is the Binance one. Oh, Coinbase. Sorry. Yeah, that's the Coinbase one. Not crazy because market cap can be anything. I will caution you there just a little bit, but I'll come back to that. Because even if it was 15K and everyone tries to sell, not everyone is going to get 15K per coin. So you're not crazy at the end of the day. Hope. I will caution you a little bit on market cap can be anything. I don't truly believe that, and it's okay to disagree here on my channel on the live. And if you want to type more, feel free. I do believe there are limits to market cap. Now, obviously, we have inflation, and market cap organically goes up. I guess the reason I'm saying this out loud is because I see way too many people, whether on X or YouTube, calling for some of these altcoins to go to ridiculous prices. Like you can type in YouTube, XRP, Ripple to 10K or Dogecoin to $20. That's not going to happen this cycle. And all these people are saying that. And it's, unless we got crazy bad hyperinflation, which is hard to predict, by the way, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We are not going to see XRP go to 10K. Because again, that market cap then would be worth 500 trillion, which is worth more than the global GDP. It's just, we have to at least keep it within reason. And one of the ways I do that is, I take a look at what market cap was in the past. And there's a way to do this on this chart. Let's see. Forgot how to go to prior years. I don't want to waste time on that. But in the past, market cap for altcoins that did well got up to a certain range. And I think when we take that data and move it forward, that can tell us that market cap for some of these top alts, whether it's Solana, XRP, whatever, I'm not talking about Ethereum, 400 to 500 billion ceiling is my guess. For other ones like Dogecoin, maybe 100 billion to 150. Okay, again, I'm just taking a range, but I see a lot of videos that say, Cardano is going to $20 and something crazy. I'm like, well, if it did a 20x, well, you can see right there. Do you believe Cardano is going to be worth 600-700 billion? I just don't buy it. To be one of those that got a seat before the music stops. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. All right, let's start getting into altcoins. Speaking of these, let's start taking a look at them. And then we'll take a look at Bitcoin miners as well. If there anyone watching, if you have any altcoins on Coinbase or Robinhood or miners that you would like for me to just take a look at on the charts, comment below and I'll load them up. But we'll start off with XRP. We were just taking a look at Ethereum, so let's take a look at XRP. How is that one holding up? And I believe this is the one we've been charting. Nope, it's not the one we've been charting. It's the Binance one. All right. Overall, it's still holding up pretty well. You can see XRP we have to take this off log scale. It got to the 1618 or close to it, and then it retested its high. And so right now, that's looking good for XRP. Now, XRP is being different and more bullish in the last cycle. I was warning that, last cycle, XRP had only got to its 786. You can see that right there on the fib. So I was worried it was only going to get to its 786, which when we put back on log, here we go, was at around $1.30. So I was saying, be careful. It may top out at $1.30. There's a lot of 2017 altcoins that topped out around their 786 in 2021. And so I was saying, watch out for 2021 altcoins in 2025 because, well, like Doge only got to its 786 so far. I do hope it goes higher, by the way, but that's what's happened. Now, there was the lawsuit stuff, but now it is truly broken above its 786. Great. So next targets, we have the 1618 at $3 and the 2618 at $4.70. So I'd say those are price targets. If I was an XRP down here, buying at around 50 cents, this is the range I would be withdrawing. Not financial advice for you. I don't believe XRP is going to $10. I just don't. If you do, great, but have a backup plan in case it doesn't. And I do think it's worth taking some profits in these areas. All right. True, there are limits, but let's say someone makes an order or fat fingers, and I love that expression, and they say they hit an order for $50K for Pepe and it hits $1, that order will get filled at a higher price and make it look like, all right, the market cap is X, market cap, but in truth, it isn't. That's why I said market cap doesn't mean anything. Okay. Pedro Miguel, Jasmy, LCX, AOIZ, and Ondo. Boy, you're requesting all the things. Well, we just got done with XRP. Let's go to Jasmy. I do have some money in Jasmy. I'm not telling you to buy Jasmy. I'm just saying I have some money in it. All right, let's take a look at Jasmy. And Pedro, it came up to the 618, got rejected at around 5.7 cents. And we're finding value here at the 0.5. You can see it's getting close to the 20-week moving average, but not quite. So let's look at the daily. And you can see the daily. All right, that shows us better on the moving averages. You can see the daily. It is liking the 100-day moving average. So right now, I like Jasmy. Would I consider buying some Jasmy here? I would. Me personally, I would. I think this isn't bad value. Now, you can wait for confirmation and add on a buy-sell signal. You can look through the lens of a stochastic RSI. Okay, the daily, it's bottoming out. How's the weekly? The weekly, it doesn't always get oversold, but if it is pulling one of these where it like kind of bottoms halfway, just something to consider. But I don't hate this price that it's at right now. I am hoping, by the way, macro-wise, that Jasmy, just if it even got near its former all-time high, that'd be great. But if it got to this 786 fib, and these, by the way, these are hard to chart. Charts like this that, just drop right off a cliff as soon as they start. But if Jasmy got up this to the 786 at around 12 cents, it's a 4X. So, if any of you were buying Jasmy down here when it was half a penny or a third of a penny, you've done a 10X right now. And then up to here, that'd be a 40X. So, yeah, I do like the potential of Jasmy just getting back up to that high of 36 cents. And yeah, that would be 100X on Jasmy all the way from down here. And so keep those things in perspective. Even if you didn't buy the very bottom, if you're retail and you're entering right now, I do think you are and this is going to go for all the altcoins, I do think you are taking a bigger risk. We're not right in the middle here because we see the peaks getting lower. We are closer, in my opinion, to the top than we are to the bottom. We're not right in the middle just because the rainbow chart's in the middle. I believe the next top's somewhere in the orange area. That's my train of thought. Doesn't have to be yours. So if Jasmy got up to 36 cents, or I wonder where this goes if we take it off log. Could Jasmy get to the 1618 at around 58 cents? I would be for sure withdrawing all my Jasmy in this area. Just me, though. So I do think Jasmy's at a good area for dollar cost averaging in. But I'll remind you, as at least what I preach on here as a market psychologist, is if you like the value where you're getting Jasmy right now, which I do, then you should love the value if it goes lower. There's no guarantees in this, okay? I'm not saying this is the bottom, but if you like it here and you're not going to buy down here, you shouldn't buy it. That goes for everything, all right? Let's take a look at Ondo. We've looked at that one before. Which is the best one to look at? Coinbase one? All right, cool. This is the one I charted. So Ondo, our fib's already off log. You can see it because of gap down here. It got up to the 1618, rejected hard. I like the value of Ondo here. I do, because it's at that 100-day moving average. I bet it's at the 888 if we take it on log scale. All right. Yeah, it's right around the 888, between the 786 and 888. I think more good value here. Good finds on these. So Ondo, decent value. And again, you can do the same thing with price targets, or you could go by market cap. If you believe Ondo can get to $20 to $30 billion market cap, you can base your withdrawal plan off that. So you can go off fibs or any of those. I agree with you on the Jasmine exit. I hope so. Man, it'd be nice to make that much money on Jasmine. Though I always have in the back of my mind, like when I bought it, I did buy Jasmine at around, was it like 40% of a penny? When I spent, it was an educated gamble. Threw a few $100 at it. So, I'm liking the returns. But if I make 10K off Jasmine, all right, a few $100, that's amazing. Yeah, I would be happy with that. But then you always think at the back of your mind, like, I wish I would have bought more. But you got to play it safe, too. You don't know if it's just going to friggin' fall off. I always look at Binance charts. They have a huge market of altcoins. And if it happens on them, they destroy markets. Yeah, that's true. What was the other ones you were talking about? LCX. Let's just run through these quick. LCX. I don't think I've charted this one before. All right. So we have some horizontal support as well as the 100-day moving average support. Let's throw on a fib. Somewhere around the 0.5618, I'm thinking. Yeah, 618. So let's zoom way in here. Didn't get quite down to the 618, but the deepest value, like the 100-day. So, if you're willing to be patient, you could set a buy order at around 21 cents, 0.6. And it might get some buyers there. I'm willing to bet I will. 618, it says 21.57. But yeah, I think this is showing good support. And even the 200 days not too far from it. And the last one you said, AIOZ. I looked at that one a while ago. AIOZ network. Yep. Looked at it because we have these fibs drawn. All right, let's take this. Let's clean it up. Let's turn the background down. All right, where did it get up to? The 2618? Yeah, man. And then it got up near the 3618, and then it's been bouncing off those supports. So good horizontal support right here from the price action and the 100-day moving average. You do have these lower highs, which is concerning, but we do have these higher lows. So there is somewhat of a wedge forming. Let's just draw this out right here. What do we got? What do you got from these lows and highs? Somewhere around here. So if it gets lower in this wedge area, would I be buying it right now after it ran this high? I would not. I like the other ones you talked about for value more, the Ondo and Jasmine, personally. But, consider this. It's already ran up almost 8,000% in just over a year and a half. 8,000% a year and a half. I'm not buying up here. Could it go higher? Sure. It's only got a 1 billion market cap. Maybe this one goes to 50 billion. I don't know. But when they've already ran this hard, I'm very skeptical. So, but again, I don't know the future. I just think it's more of a higher risk when a chart's already just busted out like that. Not that it can't bust out further. Traded on leverage on Binance under a penny. Oh, nice. Man, leverage though, not for me. I won't endorse that on this channel. No hate to you though, man. I've known people lose everything on leverage, and so that's just why people have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So Do be careful with leverage. All right, let's go to Doge. And so Doge, if we take a look at it, we have to be on a log scale. Again, I will just reiterate, there were many 2017 altcoins like Bitcoin Cash, XRP, and others that in 2021 only got up to their 786. And so that's why I said for any of the altcoins that did really well in 21, like Doge, said watch the 786, possible profit-taking area. Now that's where about it ended, but I don't believe all season's here yet. So I still believe personally that Doge can go higher. Now, recently, what's it done? Well, man, this fib at the 618, it had some buy orders right there. Look at how that wick was just sniped. Now it is struggling, staying above the 50-day. So if you really like Doge, you're starting to get value under 30 cents towards the 618, 26 cents. Set a buy order there if you really love Doge. If it picks it up, great. If not, that's okay. You can move on. True leverage is a destroyer. Oh, yeah. You can win big on leverage. You can lose it all on leverage, too. I don't touch it. So, my strategy, I have a budget every month, and I stay within that budget. And if there's nothing of value to buy, I'll just pool that budget to the next month, and so on and so forth. And then deploy that money from my budget where there are stocks and cryptos I like and where there's value. So that's it. And when there's high fear in the markets, when there's deep value. So I have found overall that has helped me the most. Before in 2017, I was more of a degenerate and, I was holding some coins too long and then had to take profits. Still took good profits, but I could have made a lot more if I was being smart about it. But when I truly started to make a plan and strategy and follow that, go off fear and greed, use my experience in the field of psychology to also help me with when to buy and sell and take profits, that has helped me way more than before. So far, I've been, my returns have been beating the S&P by over 2 to 4x in the last number of years, which is good. I'm not saying like I'm amazing, but that has been helping me. And I wanted to make this channel because I see too much crap out there and people saying ridiculous things. You see the thumbnails, people with giant bug eyes with ridiculous, unrealistic price expectations. So I wanted to offer some conservative realism to the space and just try to have honest, unbiased conversation about crypto, because that is lacking. This space is still very degenerate. And until it stops being degenerate, I don't think this space is going to be taken seriously or more seriously as much as it could. Let's go to Cardano and SWI. Let's take a look at those two. ADA, and then we'll get into some of the other ones I like. We'll take a look at Link. Cardano. All right, so you can see there, it got rejected off its 618. Right now it's holding support at the 50-day moving average. 0.5 here will be near the 100-day. So if you want to be patient, this 82-cent level is good. And SWI, I've been hearing a lot of good things about SWI lately. And that's why. It's at the 2618. And man, this is looking good. Look at how it bounces nicely off the 50-day moving average. Now, it's still trying to take the 2618, but the next area for SWI, the 3618, that would be at around 660. And then the 4236 at around 770. Chips and Salsa, welcome, buddy. Yo. What's up, my brother? Loving the videos recently. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Chips and Salsa, you're awesome. Appreciate the kind words. Like I said before, we're just running through some of the top altcoins, and we're going to be getting into the mining stock analysis. So if there's any altcoins on Coinbase or Robinhood you'd like for me to take a quick look at, let me know. But basically, we were just talking before how I believe, let me just do a quick recap, quick as possible. I believe the S&P, it's showing some good possible bottoming here at the 100-day and this trend line in the channel, okay, as well as the price action. Woo, let's put that on auto. Is that the 20-week and the stochastic RSI is bottomed out. And could it go lower? Sure. But in the past, the 20-week and the stochastic bottoming, we've been closer to a local bottom than further away. And with Bitcoin, it's at that trend line that it's been honoring since the bottom. It's at the 50-day, and we took a look at the Hull Suite indicator and the 100-day moving average being at around 88K. So even if crypto went lower, 88K would be an area I'd look for support. Okay. Thoughts on AVAX? Yeah, we'll get into AVAX. I agree. First year in this field, it's hard to find people who have grounded talk. Well, I do my best. I'm not making any money off this. I like the community part. And let's be real, we're all a bunch of freaking nerds trying to make money off crypto. And you try talking about crypto with other people, and most of the time it's not going to be received well. So it's nice to have a space and create a space where we can talk about it in a positive way. I think that's great. Let's take a look at AVAX. And then we'll go to Chainlink. So AVAX, all right, I'm liking this chips and salsa. Good find. What do we notice here on the daily with AVAX? Look at how it has been getting bought. All these wicks, it's been getting sniped here at 35.65. Now, you're pinching pennies. So if you like AVAX, I think this is great. It's good value. And again, if you like it here, you need to love it here. Do not buy AVAX now if you're not going to buy it at deeper value, because it is in this giant freaking wedge. Now, it can go lower. Sure, but if I loved AVAX, I would not be missing this value, me personally, being this close to the 0.5 and these good moving averages. But if it got down to here, I'd be like, oh boy, I'm going to deploy more of my monthly budget into AVAX at these levels. Okay. And, one way to consider it, you go to Kohl's and they price mark things up just to mark it down. They say, oh, the shirt's 70% off. It's like, yeah, you marked it up by a lot too, though. Okay. Wouldn't you like AVAX 25% off? You go to the store, you go to Target, you see something you like, 25% off, you're going to buy it. So I try to encourage to have that perspective. Too many people, when things go down, they stop paying attention. Okay. So I like it here, and deeper discount as we go lower. Algo is it's in the same zone as XRP. Isn't Algo the Gary Gensler coin? We'll take a look at Algo. Or did you mean also? All right. Thanks, man. I've got a lot of AVAX and a lot of USDC to buy down lower if it comes. Awesome. You have a plan. Well, then, hey, man, you're on it. And AVAX, I'm telling you, it's one of those, like, this is just a hunch. It's just a gut feeling. But it's one of those I feel like could do pretty well this cycle when we get in a bull run. And so let's zoom out on the weekly. Let's take a look at prior data. So this one came out 2020, so just before Bitcoin started to have a nice blow off top. So after it came out from down here at around $3, so it's done a 10x since then to where we are now. Had this nice 4,000% move. Great. AVAX, if it has another strong move, let's take a look at some of these fib extensions. 231, 370. Again, keep in mind market cap. If AVAX were to do a 10x, it would be at the 2618. And that would be you believing it could be worth $150 billion. I have a good feeling about AVAX, famous last words, but that would be one I would watch for doing well this cycle, because it's a newer altcoin. It didn't come out way earlier, closer to 2017. Just one to keep an eye on. But yeah, and for the record, I own very little AVAX. So not trying to tell you to buy stuff that only I own. Let's go over to Chainlink, because that's one I do own and I like it a lot. Chainlink, we have the macro fib high to low. It is at the 618. The Heikin-Ashi hasn't reversed yet. Now, it did break out of this wedge. We had these higher lows, And it could still come down to this trend line somewhere around the 0.5. So if it breaks 618 support, if Chainlink gets back to 16-ish bucks, then I'll say, okay, that's good value. Plus the 50-week moving average is around there. If we take a look at the daily, all right, here we see, yeah. All right, this doesn't look good. Lower highs, lower lows, getting down to the 100. That 200-day, I'm willing to be patient on Chainlink and wait for that $16 range personally. Just remember to know when to get out. Oh, 100%. And not be one of the next bag holders when the music stops. Yes. First and foremost, for any of these altcoins, this is for me, not for you. I have price targets. And if my altcoins hit those price targets, I am withdrawing a certain percent of my money. Now, there are backup plans as far as environmental things that'll happen in the market. Bitcoin dominance getting to 40%, low 40s. Bitcoin getting 120 to 150K in the orange zone on the rainbow chart, okay? So you have to have some backup factors in case your price targets don't hit. There's the pi cycle, which I don't know if that's really going to trigger this time. I have my doubts. But yeah, price targets for me are king. And so, for example, Chainlink, if we zoom way out, we have, man, I like some of these targets. Can you imagine Chainlink doing a 10x here? Getting between the 3, 6, and 8. But it would have to 10x its market cap. That's saying you would believe Chainlink could be worth 130 billion. Do I believe that? I could see it. But of course, I'm going to be withdrawing as it hits these price targets. And so if it doesn't get up here, that's fine. I'll still have some profit. And if it starts to fall back down. So I look at myself as an investor who takes on a trader mindset in a bull run. And you have to have your areas of stop losses after you hit your targets, where if things start to come back down and not reach those peaks, where's your stop loss so you aren't left holding bags? That's just part of my mindset. Fetch, let's take a look at the AI coin. Where is Fetch today? Had a little bit of a rebrand. Fetch. Man, I remember when it was, I believe, in the 20s. Artificial super intelligence. Of course, AI things, it's got a 3 billion market cap because it has AI in the name, it's going to do great. All right. Fetch. So getting back closer to its former all-time high and the lower end of its wedge. Okay. These higher lows. If you love Fetch, this might be one of the better discount areas. Not that it can't break under, but if you're just thinking of Fetch as one that you love, I would not miss these opportunities here just from the pattern it's making. And because it has AI in the name, can this one 10x from here? I do think it could. Will it? Who knows? We'll see. Let's take a look at Internet Computer. I haven't looked at ICP in a while. And ICP, again, this one's so hard to chart because it was never this price. I don't get how, it shows it at around 2.8 or 2,800 up there. It was never there. So I don't know what goes on with the charts when this happens. But ICP starting to make its moving averages into support when it's formerly resistance after bouncing off the 236. So if you like ICP, not the worst area. And it could, let's put this back on the log so this looks better. Oh no, it was on log. I screwed it up. If we take a look at this on log, are you looking for a 4x and 8x? I don't think that withdrawing in here would be the worst idea. Not that it can't go higher, but I don't think it'd be the worst idea if it started to move up even further. Are you looking for a 200 ICP, something worth 20 times more? Hard to say. Let's see. I'm out at 120, 150 if it hits. That stop losses. I believe you're talking about Chainlink, and at that point, and raise it as price moves up. I believe you're talking about Chainlink. Yeah. Man, Chainlink at 200 would be great, though. I'm going to leave a little bit in just in case 200 happens. That's part of my plan. Then when it's released on Binance, and it would be under the minute chart, ICP, and move fast. Okay. Oh, so you're talking about ICP. I got you. All right. Let's go into the miners. Let's take a look at a couple of those. Marathon. Mara. I just bought some more Mara not too long ago. Not telling you to buy. Did I buy before it started to sell off? All right. So I bought around here. It was right after I did my, I think, last week's video on mining stocks. And, I also do my videos to process as far as for different coins I'm interested in or stocks. And I said, you know what? It's at this wedge. I'll buy some right here. And I shared in that video that when I dollar cost average in, I'm looking at values where there's moving averages, trend lines, fibs, but that it is smarter to wait for confirmation, buy signals, the RSI is flipping positive, all that. We haven't had confirmation even yet, but I said, you know what? This is some pretty decent value. I'll buy some Mara here. And yay. But then, so maybe I made 1% on that since, but Mara, I have high hopes for. You can see just going from the peaks. And these were, look at the data at the bottom, November 2017, November 21. If we hit that trend line again, 150, can Mara do a 10X from here? I've been buying Mara before at different spots, but yeah, I do like the value it's at right now, at least on this wedged trend line. But if we go on the weekly moving averages, it also has some good support. And so that's another reason. We were at the 100-week moving average, as well as a trend line. Now it's at the 50-week. So I was just liking Mara. Is Mara a good now? Is Mara better buy than CleanSpark? We'll take a look at CleanSpark. How long do you plan on holding Mara? This is me personally, not you. But again, we're talking about price targets. So right now, if I'm buying Mara at 17, my price targets are between 83 and 150. If we take our fib off log, let's do that. You can see the 1618 is at around 130. And so between 130 and 150, I am trying to get rid of everything in there. Just me. Not saying it can't go up further. But would it be smart to possibly take some profits around the 888? I think so. Let's add the 888 to this. 0.888. Whoop. And let's turn the background down. So I think, even taking some level of profits around the 888 wouldn't be the worst idea. But again, as far as other environmental factors, where's Bitcoin dominance at that time? Is it in the low 40%? Where's Bitcoin at that time? Is it in the orange band on the rainbow chart? In that 120 to 180K range I was talking about before? What's going on there? But sometimes price targets hit before alt season. But in my opinion, price targets are king. And if I hit my price targets, I withdraw. It doesn't matter if I withdraw and I stop looking at it or I stop caring about it. And it can 10X from there. I don't care. If I hit my levels and I make profit, I am happy. You can't play that woulda, coulda, shoulda game. CleanSpark, in my opinion, but that's not financial advice. 83.37 seems like a good sell. Double top. Okay. Yeah, hey, I think it would be smart to take out a percent of profit here. I do. Let's go into CleanSpark because you're asking about it. As far as chart-wise, though, we have the 100 and the 200 week moving averages. We have this trend line and the wedge, and we're near the 0.5. I think that's all good things for dollar cost averaging right now for Mara. As far as CleanSpark, similar. We're seeing similar. It is a little concerning, though. I'll say here's the one thing. CleanSpark it's underneath these moving averages as resistance. So it could come back down to the 0.5. You can see it's losing that trend line a little bit too. Could we move the trend line out? Match the wicks? And in a way, that's almost, actually, when we start matching the wicks here, I'm looking at the ones at the very bottom left as well. When we start matching the wicks, okay, maybe that's closer to the bottom. Again, you can take a look at trend lines in a variety of ways, but in this area, don't hate it. Might come down to the 0.5. So between $8.70 and down here, $11, decent discount. But man, it's having trouble with this trend line as well as the 786. And as far as Clean Spark potential, this is one, man, look at this crazy price action. Where was it in later 2017? Not doing great. 2021, it kind of just went sideways. So we have to believe in Clean Spark to do more than it's done the last two cycles. But if so, let's take a look at the fibs off log scale. Can Clean Spark do a 6x, a 10x? I have a little bit of Clean Spark. I would be absolutely fine withdrawing in here. And that's probably, in my opinion, where I'm going to be withdrawing. Okay? Could it go higher? Sure. But I am more than happy with gains in here. And again, at this point of the cycle, a lot of altcoins and cryptos have already gone up 5, 10, 20x. Or as we saw with, what was that, Jasmy? 10x. Or Fetch, even more. And so we have to temper our expectations with where the cycle's at right now. If you only get a 3x, that's great. I mean, I don't know if you're putting in 1,000, 10,000, but if you make money, that's fantastic. But if you are only getting in recently, temper your expectations for the love of God. But I like Mara a little bit more, in my opinion. Real Clever likes Clean Spark. Real Clever in the comments below. Please share. Why do you like Clean Spark more? As far as it is a company, its potential. Curious to hear your thoughts. You'll be happy for a 3x? Yeah. Well, take a look at it this way. A 3x is $10 to $30, and that's not the 786 because we're off log. Let's go back to log. And let's add the 888. Is the 888 around a 3x? I do like Mara's potential more. I think it's the safest, strongest one. Yeah, the 888 is at around 30. Okay. I do think Mara's safer. But do your own research. Okay. We've also, one reason I really like mining stocks is we can take a look at their balance sheet. That was something I was telling people why I'm not buying Core Scientific, because its assets to liability ratio is utter garbage. But this is crypto, so that doesn't matter as much as you think it would. But when it's a bear market, this thing, I'm telling you, and it could be wrong, sure, but I'm telling you this thing's going to die more than the others. When we take a look at Mara, and let's just take a look at the balance sheet. We're only taking a look at assets to liability ratio. You can take a look at cash that's holding. Basically, we look at balance sheets to see how well a company can hold up in a bear market. And if the ratio is very bad, then you have to protect your money. It's more risky. You see total current assets, $1 billion, total assets, $2 billion. Look at that total current liabilities, $33 million, $375 million. So that's a 6-to-1 ratio. And the total assets, that's a gigantic ratio, like 30 to 1. So I love that ratio as far as the assets to liabilities. And let's take a look at Clean Spark. Let's take a look at their balance sheet. I cannot remember. I do believe Riot and Cypher had good balance sheets too. But let's take a quick look at Clean Spark here. Okay. Total current assets, 100 million. And you like to see a positive trend. Total assets, around 800 million. Okay. 100, 800. Total current liabilities. Okay. That's kind of close. And look how much it rocketed off recently. It's kind of close to its total current assets. Okay. So it is still a positive ratio. That's fine. Total liabilities, 110 million. Okay, very good ratio right there. So still positive. Mara, to me, has a more positive balance sheet, though. Let's take a look at my second favorite. Well, I'd say my second favorite's Cypher, honestly. But I think my favorite as far as potential is Riot, just because, it's in this channel so far, holding up support. I did buy a little Riot down here at this 382 fib and the moving average. I was like, it seems like good value. And yes, Riot could go down here. And if it does, I'm going to buy a lot more down here in the lower end of this channel. If it gets back to the 236, anywhere around $7. But it is in this descending channel, lower highs, lower lows. It is riskier. But I take a look at Riot. Look at these peaks when we have alt season. Okay. Now, this peak came earlier than when alt season peak. And let me just say that's a good reminder of why price targets are king. If you are waiting for Bitcoin dominance to roll over, the price might not go higher. So Bitcoin dominance didn't truly drop until May. And if you would have been waiting, you would have lost 50% of your profits. So if you hit a price target, that's okay. And let's take a look at that, by the way. Hindsight being 2020. Let's go from the bottom to top. And let's take this off log. What happened with perfect? Look at that. I hope you guys see that. Riot got to the 1618. Now in between its high and 1618, that was the top for Riot last time around. But it got right to the 1618 at its high. Wicked a little bit above, but that just perfectly illustrates my point. Okay? So, applying the same logic this time around, not that it has to happen. The 1618, 126, trend line's a little higher, so if Riot's getting around 100 to 170, that's between a 10x and a, 15x. So, yeah, I'd be withdrawing in that range. Ooh, we got some comments here. Real clever. Thanks for your comments. Curious what you have to say. CleanSpark is often considered better than Marathon due to its operational efficiency. Focuses on renewable energy, decentralized mining strategy, and disciplined financial management. CleanSpark's use of sustainable energy reduces costs and aligns with ESG goals. Well, it's diversification. You didn't just copy paste this off Google, I hope. Just kidding. Into energy solutions, mitigates Bitcoin price volatility. In contrast, Mara faces higher risks due to energy reliance on third-party facilities. Okay, that's good to know. And less efficient capital use. CleanSpark's balanced approach to growth, profitability makes it more sustainable for long-term investors. Mara's more risk, but if you're in, be careful. Yeah, those are good things if they're true. If they're true, those are good things. I'll say this, though. Again, I'm going to keep coming back to this, and I'll look into that research and what you just shared and see if it's, if it's got footing in it. Because I like to take a look at, not just the positive, but the negative articles too. Is that in the world of crypto, everything, when you look up the good news about it, everything says all the great problems that it's solving that don't exist and how it is sunshine and rainbows. So not saying what you're saying is not true. But yeah, I do like CleanSpark. I will say that. I'm not shitting on it. I do like CleanSpark. It is one of my top miners, in my opinion. And let's take a look at, let's see, we have one for Iron. Okay. I'm just reading your other ones. No, it's true. I keep track of their wallet for sales and their coin. Okay. Have a look and let me know. All right. Yeah, let's take a look at Iron. Let's go over to that one. Iron. Iris Energy Limited. How is Iron? I'm sorry. I'm getting there. I was talking for too long. All right, Iron. All right, what do we got here? So Iron, Sorry, I was distracted by something on my phone. Iran, looks like it's getting ready to challenge its 618 again. Okay, it's above its moving averages on the weekly, though you'll see the trend line that it's loved. Man, it has loved this trend line. And the 20-week moving average. So we're going to go to the daily. We're going to see some true value there. But, man, it looks like it wants to just get through that 786. I sold iron at the top. I haven't bought in yet. Nice. At a recent top. Because, yeah, I will say, one of my first things I look at when I'm buying into a stock, I take a look at the last year. If it's closer to the high than the low, then I wouldn't be buying. You're wondering where to buy in again. Okay, we have this trend line, but if it broke under and it started to get to these moving averages, I'd say the 618 here at around 790 would be an area to look for. 790, I'll just say this, $8 and below, in my opinion. But there's a caveat though. If it got to $8 and below, it's breaking underneath this trend line. And if it breaks underneath that trend line, I wouldn't just plainly buy it $8. I would wait for confirmation or look for confirmation through a variety of indicators. Again, a buy signal on the weekly, something. If it got down here, the stochastic RSI flipping positive, the MACD flipping positive, one of those deals. How is the MACD on this one? I'm slightly suspicious. Let's look at it. Yeah, all right. It's good to... Isn't it funny? You look at charts enough and you just know, like before looking at it. So this is why I'm slightly suspicious. If this blue moving average moves under the orange and the MACD flips negative, that trend line is going to break. And yeah, you can see what happened last time. Okay. Where would it go? I would assume between the $8 and $9 region. But then as the MACD flips positive, back to green, the stochastic RSI, buy signals, I would wait for confirmation just because a break under the trend line would make things a little bit riskier. All right. At the recent top. Nice. I'm curious where you bought then. Because if you were selling at 14, you could have made, man. You could have made like a 2-3x, depending where you got in. Hope you made some good profit. How is the MACD for Mara? Good question. Let's go back to that. Oh, boy. Not great. So the MACD for Mara just flipped negative. So, yeah, this one could get lower. Now, are these always 1-to-1 ratios? No. You can see that, like here, can flip positive a little before going negative again. So it can do the opposite. It can flip negative for a little before going positive again, okay? And it might not go down as deep. But, yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, okay? We do like when the MACD flips positive. Now, when I bought here, I didn't wait for confirmation. I did not have confirmation on the stochastic RSI. I said, you know what? I have a trend line. I have a moving average. I like the value. I'll buy some. So, I accept that it can't go lower than where I bought it. All right. I've been selling and holding it since March. I was holding from $7. Okay, so you made a 2x. Good for you, man. Esteg was my worst buy. What was the news that come out today bad for the markets? Can you take a look at Cardano? Is the news that came out today bad for the markets? I don't believe so. So I did talk about this in my stock video today. I recommend watching that, but I'll say this as short and sweet as possible. Unemployment was lower. That's a good thing. What that means, though, is that the Fed this is what changed. The Fed, the likelihood that they're going to keep cutting rates became even lower. They talked about how they'll cut rates maybe just a couple more times. The odds of that became even lower because obviously they're worried about inflation. And so what I believe is happening right now with the market going down a little bit is that it is being priced in the Fed rate pauses. However, what I went over in my stock video and earlier in this video, I'm not going to do it again. You'll have to trust me, bro, right now. You can watch the other videos or the beginning of this one. is that when the Fed pauses, things can start to turn on really bullish. And that is what I'm waiting for. Sometime around February, things getting really bullish. Okay. Give or take. So I think it's being priced in, but yeah, you would think unemployment going down should be great, right? Well, people they know they're not going to get easier money later, the banks. And so that's why there's some selling. But again, pausing, I believe, will be when things start to rip up, in my opinion. Let's take a look at Cardano, KDA. Cardano. All right. And this one looks good. Have I looked at this one before? Let's take off the MACD. Let's zoom out. Like I said before, these charts are always tricky when they start from up here and then fall. So I might play around with the fib a little bit. I'm going to go from the highest candle body, and then we'll go from there. But we'll put our fib on log. And all right, this overall looks pretty good, but let's just mess with it a bit. Does that look better? That kind of does look better, because those peaks are at the 0.5. Here, I'm looking at that first peak right here, by the way. I like how it's at the 618 there. All right, I'm going to go with this right now. It's hard to draw a fib when it just falls off a cliff as soon as it's born into existence. All right, it's like being born and then your life just goes downhill immediately. All right, anyways, the 0.5 has a hard time getting through it. Now it is at the moving average. The moving averages are inverted. Right now we have the 50 under the 100. So the 50 crossing above the 100 will be very good. But you can see its value here closer to the 236 hasn't been the worst. So if you like it here, I don't blame you. What does have me concerned though is you can see this on the weekly a little bit. We'll zoom in on the daily and I'll show you. We do have slightly lower highs, and then recently we do have a lower low. Okay, so that is concerning. On the daily, it's at the 200-day moving average, so we're in discount territory. But anytime a lower low is recent, I get more freaked out. I'm taking a look for other things such as channels or trend lines to show you. Let's take a look at RSI. Sometimes it's nice to go to the regular old RSI. Do we see any sort of divergence happening? Okay. Here there was bearish divergence. Here, well, that's just bearish, lower RSI. But we do have a climb here. The lower end of the RSI has been climbing with the price, which isn't bad. But when the price drops underneath that moving average, that yellow line, that does tend to be bearish. The price has gone under that moving average. I would wait for confirmation on this one. Is there some value here? Sure. But with the recent lower low, I'd wait for confirmation, because this one, a falling knife, scares me more than other altcoins and cryptos. The market or the news was putting fear of no rate cuts or later. Yeah. And we're deep in fear. So what does Warren Buffett say? Be greedy when others are fearful. And man, the S&P, I'll show this again. We've been in this secular bull run channel since 2008. And from these peaks, if we just draw in parallel, it is showing support. We have the 20-week moving average showing support. We have the 100-day moving average showing support. Let's take a look at the MACD on this one too. Watch that be negative. Well, it's a little bit negative. If we just go back, could it start flipping up? Possibly. And you can see here, the peaks of the MACD being turned down was as it started to actually go up in price. Here it did go lower though. Okay. So yeah, could still go a little lower. I think we are possibly seeing an area for a nice little rebound. There's also this trend line, the S&P could get around 57.60. All right. Let's see. Actually, is listed on KuCoin before this time. You want me to take a look at the KuCoin one? Kandana. Here we go. Let's see if it's any different. I don't think it's that much different from what I said. Yeah. We'll just go through this super fast. But yeah, that lower low from here, I'd be worried about that. If it breaks underneath, okay, you're at key support here. But again, I'd wait for confirmation on one of these. And it's possible it could get lower. But could it make a double bottom all the way down here? Now, if you're taking an educated gamble, I don't hate it. You could wait for around 55 cents. To me, this one just looks more of a mess and very risky. But, if you liked it a lot, I would not mind throwing play money at it. Head and shoulders on the daily for the SPY. Yeah, people have been talking about that with crypto too. So shoulder, head, shoulder with a little injury. There is a head and shoulder indicator. I wonder how that one is showing. Is that one of those special ones I now have to pay for that I didn't have to before? All right, cool. So yeah, I see what you're saying. And if this truly is a head and shoulders, we measure that down. Let's do that right now. Let's measure that. Can we see the SPY getting down to this level here at around 56.60? Sure, we see some, horizontal trend line support here, 56.60 to 56.70. Yeah, sure. If that head and shoulder plays out, you'd be taking a look right there. But we'll see. Any other miners? I did want to take a look at Wolf and Cypher. Wolf and Cypher. How we all feeling today? Any of y'all got good plans for this weekend? I just got myself a new Traeger. I love it. By the way, sorry to talk about something completely random. Amazon had a deal on Traegers, though, and you could get a Traeger while doing monthly payments for 0% interest. I said, what the hell, I'll do it. It makes cooking so flippin' easy. You put in the pellets, you turn a dial, you flip a switch, and then it comes out perfect. So it is worth the money. And I read the reviews, by the way. I went down the rabbit hole. Apparently the ones with Wi-Fi, not worth it, has issues. But so happy I bought it. All right, let's talk about crypto. My God, this guy's talking about his grill. Get out of here. All right, TeraWolf coming down to some decent value at the fib and the 200-day moving average. Okay, I love TeraWolf, but I love it because I was getting it down here. So yeah, TeraWolf looking good. I was taking a look at the weekly moving averages at the time for the 50. I want to say it was like when it started to break its downtrend, I was buying it somewhere in here between, I know I got in the higher $1 area too, closer to 2. So happy with TeraWolf. But man, I like the potential of this one because if TeraWolf gets back to its all-time high, look at that. I was like, that could be a 20x from right here. So didn't throw a significant amount of money, but I do like TeraWolf's potential. And of course, drawing out the peaks, not too much higher than that, but even there, it could be close to a 10x from where we are right now. But I'd take a look for confirmation. It is at that 200-week moving average. And also, look at this. We have the 50 coming up. So we have this positive cross here, the 50 above the 100. When the 50 gets above the 200, golden cross. And, man, away we go. And so TeraWolf on the way up, we could take a look at the 786. It's $17. Where is the 888? Why does it not keep? I must have drawn this one before. I was using the 888 on a lot of these. Where's the 888? They're around $26. So even a 5X from here. So I do like TeraWolf's potential. Let's see. It's already Saturday for me. So you're living in the future. You must be in Asia or something. Well, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for being here. But I'm doing good. Thanks for asking, of course. Hope y'all are doing well. And, I'll just say a reason I ask that, too, is because, we're in a little bit of a bearish time in the market, slightly. But it's important to check in with ourselves. Just because, this is part of my real job, my day job. When our emotions get in the way, that's when people make mistakes. They drink too much. They create problems in their relationships, their jobs. And so when things in your environment kind of suck, you got to do things to take care of yourself. Go for a walk, work out. I'm going to work out after this, meditate, lift some weights, do all the things. But yeah, it's good to do things to take care of yourselves and keep it in perspective. And again, when you keep things in perspective, the worst parts of your life or the bad parts of your life, they really aren't so bad if you keep it in perspective. Obviously, notwithstanding, tragedies and stuff like that. But let's go to Cypher, CIFR. So Cypher, we can see here, man, holding good support at all those moving averages on the weekly. So a bunch of these clumped together. The 50 is fast approaching that 200. You can see here when it finally broke up, okay, it was already near the top, but could Cypher be getting ready to blast off? And this is one, even though last time it went from $10 to $15 and then sold off like 98%, okay, this is one, I do like the research that I've seen on this one. So I do have some high hopes for Cypher. But if it loses those moving averages on the weekly, we have the 618 here down at 372. I wouldn't be buying it right now this close to the top, personally. On the daily, though, actually maybe, not the worst area. It does like that 200-day. But if it moves underneath it, you can see it found support there at the 618. So could it find support, the 618, or, where was this dip? Was it near one of the weekly moving averages? Oh, it got way underneath there. Monthly, it's probably not even going to show up. So, what was interesting? Just clicking on the monthly. This literally just appeared this month. The 50-month moving average. It's right at that. Cool. Let's see. I moved to Australia. Got married. Congratulations. How good. I love how Australians say that. That is one of y'all's favorite phrases. I don't know if you recognize it. My Australian friends, they didn't even realize it. I said, I love how when something's going well or something went well, they say, how good. It is my favorite expression. How good. What? I hope you're staying safe from the drop bears. Don't let the dingoes eat your baby. Sorry, I'm sure you heard that a bunch of times. All right. I think we're getting near the end of this video. We've looked through the miners I'm interested in. We looked through some requests out there. Any last minute requests for altcoins or even stocks if you have one to look at. Let's take a look at IMX. It's one I've been keeping an eye on. IMX at some decent fib level. Okay. Let's take a look at Algorand too. The Gary Gensler coin. So you can tell I have not checked the chart on this one in a bit, but let's move that over. And all right, so Algo can get above that's 0.5. Finding support at the 200-week moving average, 382. Let's take a look at the daily. Daily, it's liking that 50-day moving average, holding support there. So not the worst area. I like that one. Forget who pointed it out before. Ondo, that was a nice find. And then let me go and Jasmine. Those look like they had decent values. I feel a bit of FOMO, fear of missing out, and I'm thinking about buying more Mara. Cool. Well, I'll just say this again. If you're feeling FOMO, you want to you want to make sure that you have a plan. And I'm looking at you guys right now. I'm staring at you through the computer. Write down your plan. I know so many people, they just buy things based off how they feel. Frickin' write down a strategy and a plan. Have numbers in that plan before you buy. Please, for the love of God. Don't just listen to somebody on YouTube, okay? Ondo, we did take a look at Ondo before. I love it. Man, there's some interest growing with Ondo here. But I was saying I do like the value for Ondo in that it's under the Alta. It is at the 100-day moving average, and then what was it, the 888? Forget which fib it was at. No, it's at the 786. So it's at the 100-day moving average and the 786. I think that shows some good support. Could it go lower? Sure. The 618 would be my next target. But if you buy, I like Ondo as a DCA, dollar cost average, a little here. But if it does go lower, I would like it here too at the 200-day at around $1.10. Yeah, what if it goes down more? That's always a risk, man. In here, market psychology, this is me talking, okay? Not telling you what to do. If I am buying something here because the moving average and the fib, then I have to be more excited to buy it here. If you are not more excited to buy it at more of a discount, you should not buy it. And so anything I buy, that is my mindset. If it does go down more, so be it. But it has to fit my strategy, whether I'm dollar cost averaging in the fib, the moving average, a trend line, or I'm seeing confirmation on the MACD, the stochastic. You're not going to win everything immediately, and you have to be okay with that. And that, for me, helps. It helps me enjoy the market more. When we have these bear markets, honestly, it sounds crazy. Like, I get excited. But I think that's partly to do because my job working in my field of psychology, I get to work because people have problems. But I enjoy helping them. And, I get to help people at the dips, the bottoms of their life, whether it's a local bottom or a major bottom in someone's life. That's usually when I'm helping people out. And I get excited about that. That charges me up. And so same perspective in stocks and crypto, the bottoms is where we find value. And then when we enhance our lives and our bags go up, man, things get so much better. You just got to believe. All right. And I'm still trying to get used to the accent in Australia. It's different. Oh, dude, you're from Michigan? I'm a fellow former Midwesterner myself. Congrats on your Lions doing well, by the way. Not my favorite team, but, happy for you. It's only been since 1957, but yeah, their accent's great. Let's say Bitcoin goes down to 80K-ish. Where will the miners like Mara be at? Well, I'd take a look at the next fib below. If Bitcoin were to get down to its 200-day moving average, whatever. All right, let's actually go. Let's draw a comparison here. The Bitcoin went down 30% here in the yen carry trade unwind. Okay, 30%. You guys can clearly see that right here. If Bitcoin from its local top went down to the 200-day, that's close to a 30% drop, okay, because you're saying 80K, right? So we're just drawing comparisons. What did Mara do? And this is just worst case scenario, okay? I'm not saying it's going to go here, but what did Mara do in August? Well, it went down even a little bit more, but all right, it was right here from that peak. Again, we're just drawing a one-to-one comparison. It went down 50%, okay? Went down 50% from that peak. Now, I will add that from Bitcoin's peak that it already had, it's already gone down 40%. So 50%, that's close to the 0.5 fib. And if you just want to say 50% in general, you can take a look at just horizontally. Here are some bottoms. So somewhere around $15. Okay. Now we do have this trend line at these lows. Could it get down? Could Mara, from its most recent top, come down more than 50%, like 57%? This would be worst case scenario in my mind. around $13. But again, I just bought Mara here. If it's $13 in the near future, I am buying more, and I'm excited about that. So again, it's how our mindset operates. And this is something, in my field of work, you can call it growth mindset. I do something called cognitive behavior therapy, how our thoughts influence our feelings and then behaviors. You have to make sure those are lined up in a positive way, because when our thoughts are negative, that ultimately negatively affects our actions. And if you're like, oh no, Mara fell off a cliff, this sucks, you're going to take a negative action and not buy it at deeper value. So again, that's why I say, if I'm buying it here, I'm buying it here. So we got to flip our thinking into a way that helps us and doesn't hurt us, because people get into, a lot of people in negative parts of their life, they get into sticky thinking, and they have these phrases. I forget what it's defined as right now off the top of my head. But they say these all-encompassing phrases that really aren't true. When you hear kids say, everyone hates me. Well, it's not everyone, but why are you saying that phrase? What's going on? So we have to dissect our mindset sometimes. Let's see. Algo is the same play as Ripple. Is Ripple's at 236. XRP maybe higher, $8 to $10. Maybe 8 to 10 Algo, or Algo maybe high of $1.50, $1.80. Not financial advice. No one can answer that, since people let their emotions drive the price. The same way you're afraid of missing out. But you can make the best decision if you do some TA of the chart. And I'll say this, any technical analysis I'm doing, you have to be able to do your own TA and have replication. Okay? Don't just trust what I'm saying. I try to use indicators that are more easily replicable and understandable. I don't understand fully Elliott wave theory. That's just another data point in the back of my head. And so when I do my own technical analysis, if I see someone's Elliott wave theory analysis confirm what I'm saying, that's just one extra bit of information, but I take it with a grain of salt. I do not base my decisions based off certain analysis and indicators I don't understand. If it's over your head, I don't think you should be using it or basing your decisions off it. Okay? Because then you're putting your decisions in the hands of someone else. And in my field, you have to increase your locus of control and responsibility. Unless you're an addict, then you have to let go of control a little bit, but that's a different topic. Thank you. What is this indicator called? Which indicator are you referring to, Crispy? We have on the fibs. Okay, that's this fib retracement tool. The moving averages, this is EMA 20, 50, 100, 200. Okay, trend lines you can draw right here. And there's a variety of other tools. The other tools I like to use, this is my bullish, when things are bullish, the buy sell signal indicator, the 1020 moving average crossover with Fibonacci signals. I also like using the stochastic RSI and the MACD, which is the moving average convergence divergence. The blue line. You're talking about the moving blue line? The EMA. Okay, yeah, that's that one. That is the EMA. Do know moving averages change when you go on different time frames. So the weekly moving averages, obviously the more macro, the better. We can go to something like, let's go to Apple. I think this will drive my point. Apple, anytime it's underneath the 50-week moving average. Now, technically that's bearish, but that's also the best value area you'll find for Apple. Even if it goes lower, if you bought Apple here at 43, and yes, it went down to 36, and you're buying at the 200-week moving average, that's the deepest value you can get on something like Apple. And so, yes, you can wait for confirmation, and yes, things can go lower. But if you're long-term minded, and I'm just saying how I use moving averages, at least on stocks, this is how I'm looking for very deep value. because for something like Apple, how long is it down here? Moving averages are also important for looking for patterns. Every stock crypto chart out there, they like different moving averages. And for dominance, it loved the 20-week moving average. And when it broke underneath, I said, okay, that's probably the top so far. And so next it has to break under the 50. And then the 100 and 200, very close, has to break under that. Okay. Let's close out on this. It's one of my favorite RSIs, the ultimate RSI. And on the weekly, this has just started to break down. Okay. When the orange moving average here started to cross down, that was January of 2020. You all know alt season was way out here in April or May. It was over a year away. But if you've been watching this whole live stream, remember what I said. Ethereum, Bitcoin, it doesn't even have to do the full move it did last time. So if that was a year and a half away, maybe alt season's only half a year, 6 to 9 months away. That's what I'm looking for. I'm making my own indicators and training algorithms at the moment and been working on them since last year. Still got a way to go. Yeah, and that's the fun part is sandboxing them. And part of my strategy I have written out, I write down when certain things don't work out and why that is. So we're always getting smarter and adapting. And if I made a mistake, why is it? Is it because I didn't wait for confirmation? Is it because I was feeling hype? What did I not consider strongly enough? The more I write those things down, the more it's like, oh, there was something pretty obvious that I just chose to ignore because of my feelings. Usually that's when I make bad decisions. And I would gather most people. Meikle's combo indicator for Training View is great as well. Let's take a look at that one. Again, thanks for being here, guys. This is great just chatting with y'all. Combo indicator by Meikle. I'm going to type it out how you spelt it. Let's see if we can find this one. If I'm typing something in wrong, I see a lot of Harry Potters. Yeah, real clever. I'm not finding it right now. You have to go to his website. Oh, okay. Well, I will do that. So, yeah, everyone, thank you, Real Clever Fox. Go to his website, Meikle's Combo Indicator. Check that out. Get it for free. I'll do that after this video. Let's leave it there. Thank you all so much for watching and being part of the conversation today. Loved all the stuff that we talked about. I think, I've seen a lot of bearish sentiment out there on X and YouTube. And again, when things are bearish, I'm looking for opportunities. And could the low be still further away? Sure. But I'm not missing these areas as far as dollar cost averaging because I believe there is still an alt season coming 6 to 12 months away. That's part of what I see in the charts. So thank you again for watching, guys, and have a wonderful day. Take care and a wonderful weekend too.